Hello, everybody. So I am about to let Megan and Bethany in. Welcome back to another podcast. I'm not quite sure what the topic is going to be today, but we're going to find out once everybody hops on, and we'll, as usual, we'll just kind of chat a little bit, and you'll get to see the freebies. Hey, ladies, you're.
Oh, hello.
There we go.
I thought I did myself. Hello, I see we're recording already.
Yeah, I figured we'd record. I pushed record before chatting because because that's that voice thing, right? And then it shows up, or if it's heard in the actual recorded audio or not. So I'm like, let's just try and see how it works this time, and I can look back. One of the things I want to get into doing, rewatching it.
Well, how are you, ladies?
Good. I'm good.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting over the hump.
Yeah, it's getting there. I got this new dress today.
Ooh.
Or not today, yesterday. I got a new wardrobe, but this time with my wardrobe, I bought a bunch of dresses that have like floral designs on it, and usually I go to like black shirts, black, but I decided to change things up and do a little flowery. Yeah, later on I'll send a video and I'll show you all the clothes I got. I'm excited about it.
That's fun.
Yeah, but I'm doing good as well. I was doing dishes and I kind of lost track of time, and I looked at the clock and I was like, oh, it's time. So I had to hurry, and I accidentally cut myself a little bit, but oh well, I'll heal. Yeah. Just a little nick on my yeah.
Wounds. Why don't we? Maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time as a kid growing up. I don't know if it was just to get back at my parents or what it was. I just remember always like I'll have a scratch or something and I'd lick it and it healed, I think, pretty fast in comparison to everybody else.
Your own body's medicine.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Right? And it keeps it clean. I would imagine. Isn't that why animals do it?
That's true.
They do.
Yeah, they do. So I have a topic in mind. I'm not sure how to kind of even phrase it, but it's basically like, how we all have a day, usually like maybe once a month, maybe a couple of times a month if we're really lucky, when we're really like energized and we are motivated to get everything done and we want to do everything. Right. And we start the day off the way that we want to start it off. And then it goes great. And the whole entire day is perfect. And then you go to bed, you're like, yes, this is how I was meant to live my life. And then the next morning comes and you look around and yesterday is no longer here. And you gotta like try to figure out how to get back in that zone, in the flow. Yes, Megan?
So I was like, this kind of like, I guess, feels kind of like our last topic. So it was kind of the same thing, where we're kind of like burnt out, and then we, how we get over it. So like even that's.
It's not the burnout. It's not the burnout. It's that, I guess the topic is more so like, what is it that you do to tap into that flow?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
The next day you're looking for it, and this is where you can look back on your days that these perfect days.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you did that worked? And then most importantly, what is it about you that worked, that made that day happen?
All right. I got some ideas flowing.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Bethany, let's hear your ideas.
Okay. So what came up for me was like when I have that day that, well, perfect. I don't necessarily like the word perfect, but that empowering, like, wow, this is a great day that you're describing. So the next day when I wake up, I start my meditation right away. First thing, and today, I guess it's a little strange, but it's not strange. So I do affirmations every morning, the same ones in my meditation. I do my gratitude practice. And I was like halfway asleep, halfway awake, and my mind already started to do those affirmations that I do in the morning. I noticed, and I was like waking up fully, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the first time this has happened, like where it just like automatically starts. And so that's what I do. I just start my meditation. I go into my yoga, and then I go outside. I go into nature. That's what I've been doing recently, and it's been helping a lot. Like, and also having that intention for my day. Like, today is going to be a magnificent day. It's going to be a great day. And usually 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 days, hey, they're great days. Because I guess it's also on your mindset. Like, if you have that view, like, oh man, today, let's see what today is going to have in store for me, or like, I'm not feeling today, or today's going to be a bad day. Like, I just feel like that's when those things happen, because you're like setting that intention to be like, hey, this is how my day is going to go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and just starting my day off with those mindfulness practices and just tapping into myself and just declaring like, hey, it's going to be a magnificent day no matter what, because it's beautiful out, whatever comes to mind. So yeah. That's kind of what I do. And there's other things, of course, that I'm like journaling, and sometimes I'll dance, be goofy.
Do you change your routine up every day, or kind of like you go with the flow?
My routine stays the same every day. It's like a solid routine: meditation, getting up. Oh, and also getting ready. That's a big one too. Like getting dressed, brushing my teeth, and just, having that. Because I notice on the days where I don't do that right away, or if it's been a long time, honestly, since I haven't like started my day that way. But in the past, I didn't feel as empowered in the day. It just kind of just felt like the day was flowing, and like it just like a roadblock would hit, and I'm just like, oh God, what do I do? Like, and now it's kind of like going back to that practice. And like what I was telling you guys last week on how I do this new thing where I'll be like, here, like I'm here, I am here, right here. And then I do this, like I'll put my hand to my heart, I'm here. And that's been helping tremendously too. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So there's my spiel.
That's awesome. Awesome. What about you, Meagan?
I mean, like Bethany, I think routine is definitely something that we have to practice. That sets our intentions for the day, just like Bethany said. And sometimes it can be hard, but it's setting up your day for what is going to happen. So, even for me, I do the same thing. I do my affirmations in the morning. I'm a little more tired in the morning. So I usually like put on YouTube affirmations. I'm like, I can't think right now. Can you? But it's funny you said that, Bethany, because today when I woke up, my brain, those were the first things that came to my head, were like these affirmations. And I was like, oh, weird. I haven't even put on like my daily affirmation video, and I'm already starting to do that. And yeah, so I think that is the biggest thing. I usually try now to go for runs in the morning. If I wait later in the day to do my runs, I feel that it kind of takes my energy away from me, where when I'm doing it right in the morning time, it boosts up everything throughout the day. It actually gives me more energy to keep going, or just doing any type of exercise, doing yoga in the morning. On rainy days, I definitely have to substitute that, or just taking the dog for a walk. And I think that like throughout my day, constantly taking care of myself to keep up my energy levels is very important for me. Or else I do crash. So that's like giving myself 30-minute breaks all the time and going and doing yoga. I usually go and take the dog for a walk right after lunch. And just doing those little things for yourself that are helping yourself to keep going forward and to have this routine about how you take care of yourself, but also how you balance everything in life, your work and doing that. And I feel one other really big thing to do is also have a nighttime routine to set up your next day. So like, getting clothes ready for in the morning. If you have to leave for work, like having your lunch ready, and doing those little things for yourself that sets you up for success the next day, so that you're not, when you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And you already set yourself up for failure because you're constantly like, oh, but that took 2 seconds. I could have done that yesterday, and I could have taken care of myself this morning by doing meditation, by doing words of affirmation, by doing something that is helping you set your intentions for that day. Because if we don't do that, it's kind of going to be really hard for you, like Bethany said, to get yourself to get to that good place. Because if you wake up in that bad headspace, it's going to take a lot to get you out of that space, and then you're not going to be productive. And then let's say, like you said, if you're looking at yesterday and you're like, oh my God, I was so productive. And then today you're like, oh, but can I be that productive today? Is it? And you're setting yourself up not to have that successful day. So it's like, okay, what did I do yesterday, right, to get me to this point that I was at? And constantly do it, form new habits. And it takes time. It totally takes time. So even like me and Bethany are a little different. She now has her routine of saying her affirmations that she wants. I need a little more help by YouTube, and that's okay. But I think, all of us can agree affirmations are so important, because they're the words that you are speaking out to the universe that you are and what you want and what you're grateful for. And it's going to give you that. Yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Yeah. It's like both of you ladies have shared so much, and all of that information is very powerful. And I heard many common things that you do, which is affirmations, where it starts with either somebody else is telling them to you, because I still listen to, sometimes I don't want to think, because if there are times, and this is coming from a core energy coach, I work with energy, I understand energy, and there are days when I feel really heavy that I simply cannot think a positive thought about myself because I might feel stuck about something. So I turn on affirmations on YouTube, and I allow somebody else to remind me who I am. And then once my energy increases a little bit, then I tackle that monster that is trying to tell me in all the different ways of how I'm failing. Right. And I question it, but I question it with, help me help you. I know you don't want to be here. And trust me, I don't want you to be here either, right? Because you're dark, you're heavy, you're not helping me. So anyways, routines. Routines are powerful. And if our routine is to listen to affirmations from somebody else, then we do that until one day. And one day that can happen pretty quickly, that those affirmations will start to, especially if you are waking up the same time, listening to these affirmations around the same time, that eventually, soon enough, one of these days, whatever phrase, checks your box, it's going to become automatic. And these affirmations of who you are. I am this, I am that, and all the positive ends of I am. They're going to come naturally, right? They're going to come naturally, and you might not even be able to stop them until they come through you, until all of the I am come through you, and they're like, okay, I get it. But that becomes part of the routine, because if we don't do this long enough until it becomes that solid routine that we actually, it's almost like walking and breathing, that we don't think about it. And the moments that we do stop in between, there is also a chance of us reverting back to our old ways, our habits that were the reason why we're doing this in the first place, but because they are familiar, they feel more comfortable, even though they cause us to feel very uncomfortable. There's safety in the known, and there's not very much safety in the unknown. And yet, this is how humans actually thrive. We all thrive in the unknown. We all, and that means, like, you have a problem, you have an issue, you have anything that is in front of you that you don't know, that once you do it and you're on the other side, I don't know anyone that does not feel great after that. Everyone always feels great after that. So then you were talking about routines, and one of the ways of how I talk with my clients and help my clients to set up their routines is kind of like, we call it bookends, where you have a bookend for the day and a bookend for the work day. So how do you start your day? And then how do you end your day? And in the powerful ways that will set you up for success, whether it's for the day or for the sleep, which means for the following morning. Because if you are in a negative headspace as you're going to sleep, you're going to wake up in that same place without those thoughts. It's just your body is going to be replaying what you were thinking as you were drifting off. So that's why it's important to have end of day routine and morning routine of how you start. And then work. How do you start your work day? And then how do you end your work day, right? And for all of us, it's different. Some of us, we have a 9-to-5 job where you have a solid lunch in the middle. For others, we have, like for me personally, I have calls throughout the day, and there's not always a guarantee that I would have enough long of a break for me to, to have a full meditation that I wanted to cleanse myself. So I go outside and I walk in the grass. Right. So finding things that bring us to center, and the more we do these things, the more it becomes effortless. And the reason why we had this perfect day is because it felt completely effortless, because everything we did, it was in alignment with us. So, and that's why I say it is important to look back on that day and admire that day, and know that it is very possible to have that day again and again and again every single day. But then, of course, you need breaks, because being on that high energy, because that usually that day would be in around level 6 energy, whereas you're just in the moment and you're being, and a lot of other things can go, and the less important list and forgotten and not done. But being in that high energy all the time is also draining. So we'll need to remember that we need those downtimes as well, and allow ourselves to actually have them without beating ourselves up. But looking back at the day and seeing, what was it about yesterday? What is it that I did? What is it about me that worked? Quite often, it might be just the mindset, the way that, I started off my morning. I wasn't focused on myself. I was focused on my client, or I was focused on my partner, or I was focused on my kids. And I got up out of bed for somebody else. And I was happy, and, and I was there, and I was present, and I was in the moment, and I felt great about myself, having done this task and this task and this task. By the way, making a bed apparently is also one of the quickest, easiest ways to set yourself up for success for the day, because you got to start your day with accomplishments. That's usually what it is. I'm not trying to give everyone all the information as to, what's in that day that is the actual recipe for success, because all of us will have different things, right? That's why, Meagan, you shared tons of stuff. Bethany, you shared tons of stuff. I've shared a little bit. And for me, it's the same things, right? The days when I don't meditate in the morning or I fall asleep through meditation, it does affect me, because, and especially if I fall asleep, then I feel like a failure because I didn't accomplish the task. So instead of having longer meditations, do a shorter one, right? That's why I'm like, well, because I choose a 30-minute long one, knowing that I can nap during this one, right? But if that's my intention, that's what's going to happen. And then I can't be upset at the end result when the intention was to take a nap during meditation, right?
Yeah.
So checking yourself, I guess, through the process is, okay, well, what was the intention of this particular action that I want to take, or this particular task, right? So it can be more like a smaller type of an intention instead of just for the whole entire day, and then working through that. So what's coming up for you?
So when you brought up meditation nap, now I'm a little different with those meditation naps. So there's sometimes in the morning, like on those days where I'm not feeling my affirmations, where I'll be starting to say them, and I notice I kind of drift off into like a meditation nap, but I bring myself back and I start over again. And there's some days on those down days where I keep going back, and it's kind of like a cycle, but I always bring myself back to like that beginning, like, you know, starting my affirmation. And sometimes I have to restart it like 4 times before my brain's like, all right, I'm awake now, but it helps me wake up. But anyways, with the meditation naps, I find them to be very rejuvenating when I have them. And it helps me like feel more awake most of the time. I don't know. I really like meditation naps because I feel like that you go deep, deep. And when you have that nap, you don't need as much sleep because you're going so deep into your soul with that like an intentional nap in a way. I don't know. That's what came up for me.
Maybe you're talking about, because there's different states, right? Because when we go too deep into meditation, we fall asleep. Right. There is the little piece in between, like before you fall asleep and you're not quite awake. You're like in this in between. And that is a hot spot for, for that, when you're talking about meditation, a deep meditation where you spend 15 minutes in there or even 11 minutes in there, and you get an equivalent to about 2 hours of sleep, right? Or some say 4, depending on what expert you're listening to. So those ones I love, because every time I tap into that, it's great. But when I go into the actual meditation and like the falling asleep part of it, that is the part that, quite often I find myself looking to, because it's a different kind of a sleep when I'm sleeping and listening to a meditation, because I usually like to do guided meditation. So when I'm listening to a guided meditation and I fall asleep to it, because the subconscious mind is still listening to it. It doesn't shut off, right? It's still taking all of that information in. So that's why when I'm sleeping and I wake up, I do feel better after that nap, but it's actually a nap. It's not deep meditation. It's already past that point. But that hotspot is also, many people refer to it as the manifestation portal, because you're very open and you're connected and you're in the moment and you're clear, right? Even though you're not really awake and you're not really sleeping. Yeah.
That's interesting you say that, because I'm like, I don't know, like even when I fall asleep and I wake up when I'm like meditating, but that's just me, to each his own, we all have our different ways of doing things and how things affect us. But man, on those days that I fall asleep and I have like a long nap, I notice that it's usually one of my high productive days for me personally.
Yeah. How we interpret it as well, right? Because for me, I interpret it as I'm lazy and I'm too lazy to stay awake for the meditation, that I fell asleep. And it's also, I know because right now I have a lot of things going on that I have taken on my plate. There's new things that I'm going to be starting that I'm very uncomfortable with. So that's why, because it's like outside of my comfort zone. Like this is my comfort zone, and it's like right here, okay? If not right here, some days, like off the screen where you can't even see it. And that's why for me it's kind of like a mixture of everything I'm going through and the things that I'm accomplishing and not accomplishing. And sometimes I do catch, sometimes often I catch myself, my gremlin telling me all the things that I didn't do and reminding me of these things I didn't do, and tells me you failed, so stop trying, right? You're gonna get yourself hurt because it's trying to protect me, right? And then on this side are all the things that I did accomplish, I did do, that I never even thought was possible, that I didn't want to do and I did, right? And all these things. So it's kind of like a mixture of all these things. And then on top of it, feel like I'm wasting time by sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I know how powerful meditation is. And when I am in between of these two worlds, failure and success, and I don't want to talk to either one of them, and I just want to be left alone and just want to be and keep going forward, because I know I don't need to know all of my successes. I don't need to know all of my failures, because they're all the same, and just continue to go forward. And it's kind of hard to explain. It just comes all together, and then because I know if I meditate, it will be very helpful, and I feel undeserving of feeling good. So therefore, I'd rather take a nap through a meditation and avoid feeling good and proud of myself.
I feel like one of the things too is like you have to connect to your body and not to your mind. So like if your body is asking you for rest and for, you know, those things, then, and I think a lot of times we don't ask our body, and that's what I've been trying really, really hard to do lately, is ask my body, not ask my mind, what do you want? But I'm like, body, please tell me what I can do for you right now. And if that is a nap, or if that's going for a run, or not doing anything, I give that to my body, because I'm so much in my mind. And like you said, you know, going from this extreme to this extreme, and it's like, no, I need to stop that.
Yeah.
Because it's causing this stress on my body. My body knows how to release this stress. I just have to tap into my body and be like, hey, what you need right now to let this all go.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes your body might be telling you like, hey, I need a nap, but your mind is telling you, I don't need a nap. And so it's
get work done, right? That's a great point. Like I do also forget to check with my body. And in a way, that is my way of checking with my body. Let's meditate. Okay, let's take a nap. Napitation, I guess we'll call it napitation, right? Nap and meditation together. And that is me listening to my body, but then coming out of it and beating myself up for a waste of my time, listening to my body instead of listening to my mind. Because we, in this side of the world, North America, we're raised through here, not through here, because through here we would know and listen to the body, but through the mind, it's like, well, there's so many things that I need to do and want to do and have to do in order for me to be successful in my endeavors. And here I am wasting my time napping, right? So it's the conversation that we have with ourselves as well. And I have that conversation with myself. I'm sharing that because a lot of people think that I don't go through this kind of stuff, that I, you know, that I, not that I'm better, that I'm not a normal human, right? And I do get that a lot. And that is not true at all, because I go through this stuff as well. And anything new that's added on the plate, there's a lot of discomfort that I go through that's around it, because that's where growth is. We don't grow when we're comfortable. We grow, like, I guess another way to look at it as this one day, this one successful day, is that we're growing every single day, and we're growing and growing and growing, and we're resting, and so that way we can run this marathon once a month. That's another way to look at it, right? Without beating ourselves up and punishing ourselves for only having one of these awesome days in a month or in 2 weeks or in a week, right? Because those, like, they feel great, and we want to feel great every single day, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that too. For me, something came up, like just hearing you kind of have that inner dialogue. It's like, wow, like that's like a real life gremlin, like talk right there. Like you being like, hey, you know, this is one side, and the gremlin's like, hey, no, you're not. And it's just really inspiring to hear that as well. And I mean, some of our viewers, like you were saying, to some people think we don't go through that kind of stuff. Like we made it this far and we're these, you know, perfect beings, but like we have our shortcomings and we have our inner dialogues that we're working on, and we're always expanding, learning, and growing. And it's also a huge synchronicity, I feel like, that's coming up for me with just this whole conversation that we're having, how we do things similarly. And it's like, wow, we're all on the right path. Like, and it makes me just like, I want to be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing to like note here is that coaches have coaches. We have people that are helping us. So like, and we don't find it as a weakness, we find it as a strength, because we cannot be aware in every single department of our life as much as we want to be. We can't, and we need an outsider perspective to tell us what is going on that we can't even see right now. Because again, like sometimes we're working so much maybe on our self-care that we forget about like our money and about our family and about all these other departments, because we're focused on one, that we need someone to come outside and be like, oh, hey, wait, but have you been focusing on this and this? Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, how do I get back to being aware about that? So it's holding yourself accountable and having someone else hold you accountable for yourself. Because I get the same thing. It's like, how are you so happy all the time? Oh my gosh, you're just, well, one, it's a choice I make.
Yeah.
However, it's a choice I've made to reach out to other people that are going to help me to get me onto the right path, and not see that as a weakness that I'm asking someone to help guide me.
I agree. And it's definitely not a weakness. It is a strength. And it takes a very strong person to extend their hand and say, please help me. Please help me. Right. And that goes for anything, right? Whether you desire to go see a therapist or a physician or a personal trainer or any kind of professional, a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
They too have someone they go to, like a massage therapist. They cannot give a massage to themselves. They go to another massage therapist that they want to work with, right? Mm-hmm. That they want to pay for their services. We as coaches, I had a point for almost a year there, I had 2 coaches that I worked with because that's what I needed. Right. And now I'm working with one coach, and I've been with her for a year now. Right. So, and like the point that you made with outside perspective, that's huge, because we ourselves, we have our loops that we're stuck in that we're not aware of. And the outside person, especially when we spend a year with them, like myself, it's already like, oh, okay, Yana, slow down. You're getting off track here. We're going in this direction and you're going in this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Because she knows me up at this point that I'm like a golden retriever in the park with a bunch of squirrels running around. So there's times when it's really difficult for me to focus and stay on topic. And then there's her job to make sure that she keeps me on point and on topic and moving forward with the goals that I've set out for myself, right? Not that the goals that she set out for me or somebody else, but the goals that I set out for myself. So it's very important to have a coach to work through these things. And even though I also am a coach of myself, where Bethany, you witnessed a little conversation there, but I have these types of conversations quite often. This morning I went with the dog and I was feeling really heavy, right? Because I haven't been waking up at the times that I want to. I've been sleeping in. And anyways, like working through morning anxiety, just leading up to what, the doing ambassador days that are going to be happening very soon. So anyways, this morning I had to have a conversation with myself. Walking down with my sunglasses on and working through what is this heaviness, where is it coming from, and then I listen to my own responses, right? Who am I talking to? Why are you here, right? Because especially when the gremlin shows up, this is when I feel the heaviest, makes me feel like a total failure and a victim, is because they're trying to just keep me safe. But what is she saying to me? Like, what is she trying to tell me? And it starts with the morning. How do I start my morning? Because I don't start my mornings the way that I did, that worked for me, and I took a break, and it's harder to get back on track. Like I was saying before, if you get in the flow of working towards your desired habits, mm-hmm. or how you want to start your morning, which is also a habit for me. And once I start, I shouldn't stop. I got to continue going and going and going. And if I stop, it should only be for maybe 1 or 2 days, which is the weekend. But other than that, continue going with it. Because if I stop, then it's harder to get back to it. And that goes for any habit, right?
Yeah.
However, whatever one we want to work on. And the more that we stick to them, the more often we tend to have those really good days, those really productive days that we feel awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to piggyback off of that really quick. Yeah. Just because I think a lot of people feel that, because we all have those days where we're not doing our daily routine. We're human. It happens. But I feel like what happens with a lot of people is that they then just give up. They stop instead of seeing the progress that they've already made. Instead of, they go back to ground zero when they are like, oh, I didn't do this for 1 day. I guess I failed and I'm not going to go back to it. And we have to stop looking at even like how far we have to go. We have to be like, okay, but I'm proud of you for being here where you are. And we're just going to keep continuing. It's okay that some days we have bad days. It's going to happen. No matter to the most enlightened person, the most spiritual person, we are going to have bad days always. Not always, but we're going to have them. Until I'm 100, I'm going to have bad days. But it's how I respond and how I keep moving forward with those bad days and not letting them take me back 10 years because I'm like, oh, well, 1 day I didn't do it. So guess I'm back to this old version of myself.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And something I wanted to bring with that, like what both you guys are saying, was just how just when we go into those moments where we have those like self-assessment, like what times, or like, those, I guess, self-coaching times, or those times where you're picking yourself back up to be like, hey, it's okay. I feel like those are some of the most empowering times, because then all these insights come through. Because when I do that, usually I'm walking outside, or maybe I'm just staring out into nature. You know, sometimes I go to washing the dishes, and I was actually just the other day, I was washing dishes and the thoughts came to mind like, wow, like when I'm washing this dish, it's like your mind, like, you know, and you have a sink full of dishes that's so related to when your mind is so piled up with all this stuff. And I'm like, if we just take it one thing at a time and don't be hard on ourselves, just clean it and then go on to the next thing. One step, one thing. And then as soon as I saw this, two rabbits were running by outside and they're all playing with each other. And I was just like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, you know, it just, and I've had that cleaning with dishes, like, thought before, and I get that a lot, but there's sometimes when I'm having those times where I feel down on myself, that thought comes to mind, and it's just like, oh yeah, I can clean this, it's okay, you know. But the rabbit's my spirit animal, so seeing the two rabbits playing was just like the icing on the cake. And I was just like, all right, when I'm done with these dishes, I'm going outside, I'm doing a nature walk, because this is what my body is desiring. But yeah.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your spirit animal comes and says, this is what you need to be doing, right? And you're in the right place. And then if they're playing, I mean, how often have you ladies seen rabbits playing outside? I mean,
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah, we have a lot of rabbits here.
Yeah, but it's the
Here.
cutest thing ever to see them running around playing. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, look at you. And there's just one rabbit out here that will let me get really close to it. But I have to like be like, it's okay, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna hurt you. And I just keep walking. I don't look at it. And it's like, I know it's watching me like, oh God, like, don't come any closer. But I've gotten pretty close to it. And I'm like, maybe I'll have a wild pet bunny soon. I don't know.
We don't have very many rabbits in the area here. Because we have coyotes here, and coyotes, they will.
That's their food. Yeah.
In the winter, I've seen a couple of rabbit tails left, and guts left, and parts left. So I guess they can either all get eaten, and people are covering their backyards so that way there's less space for them to hide and live. Because many rabbits, they like to go underneath the deck and stay there, right? Especially if it's low. But once it's solid in and they have no other place to go, right? We humans we're taking over, and poor things are, they're vanishing in this area. We used to have a lot of rabbits here because this was a fairly new area. But the more houses go up, the more coyotes come this way because the houses are going the other way to where coyotes live. So they come this way, and they're getting bolder and like walking in the streets.
Oh.
Yeah, and they don't wait until it's like fully dark to start walking on the streets. So that's why we all got to make sure that kids need to come home at a reasonable time. Yeah. So anyways, back on track. I know I took a few notes throughout this thing. Yeah, one of the notes that I took down, what I think, Meagan, you were talking through the heaviness of the mind, of the thoughts, right? And then the intention and affirmations, getting dressed. That one, with everyone being on lockdowns, and everyone being at home and staying in pajamas, this is because some people have been on lockdowns and staying home and working from home for over a year. And it's challenging for quite a few of them in the mind that the whole process of getting ready is self-care. You're showing love to yourself. You're checking yourself out in the mirror. You're putting your eyelashes on or mascara on, whatever you put on, and you say, damn, I look good. So you're saying I look good, you start to feel good about yourself. And then typically you would walk out the door feeling great. I'm going to work with my hair flowing out or however you're doing it. And with lockdowns, for women, no bras, just like a sweatshirt or a big t-shirt, sweatpants, or mostly pajamas, right? And definitely nothing on their face, not doing their hair, not completely stopping that part of self-care that they've been doing for how many years prior to that. So that takes a toll on the mind as well, right? And the days that they do get ready for the day and put the energy and effort into themselves and feel like they got ready for the day, because that is part of, getting ready. You get your bed ready, get yourself ready for the day, and you go out there. I mean, not very far, probably to the kitchen counter or to the office table from, 2 floors down. Less exercise. That's the other one as well. Because you were talking about, Bethany, you were talking about yoga. But exercise is actually one of the easiest ways to have the happy endorphins. It just naturally happens, and it makes us feel good and energized and motivated. And how do we feel on those days when we get everything done that we wanted to get done and accomplished? Energized, motivated, excited. And looking back, I look back at all the days when I felt that way. I typically started my day off at some point with some kind of an exercise that was either a quick walk or walking a jog, or stretching or dancing, right? So physical activity, movement itself, Tony Robbins often refers to this as change your physical, I forgot what it's called now, what he calls it, but you got to change your physiology. Change your physiology, which means move your body, do something else, right? And there's actually an exercise that I learned. It's energy work. So when you put your arms up and you just pull them down like this, right? I know I shared it with Bethany, with you, in a workshop, I believe. But you're bringing in the energy, right? And especially if you're feeling sleepy, that can make you feel a little bit more or a lot more alert and awake.
A big one for me is dancing. When I dance, like sometimes I'll just put on music and I just dance. And I've been using that as exercise. And I always at the end, I'm like, whew, that was amazing. Like I'm feeling good dancing. And then yesterday I did 50 squats just because I saw someone on social media be like, oh, I'm doing 50 squats. Can you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's see. And I did 50 squats and I was like, whew, that was tough. But hey, I did it. Wow.
Good job.
How are you feeling today?
My legs are a little sore, but my being like stretching every morning and stretching before I go to bed, like I don't feel as like sore as I thought I was going to. Well, yeah, I really thought. Right. What was that?
Let me know how you feel tomorrow, because sometimes if it's
it sometimes takes a few
intense workout, it takes like a few days to start to feel. On the second days, usually it's like, oh my god, I can't walk.
I feel it up the stairs. Like when I go upstairs, I'm like, all right, legs. I know. I hear you. I hear you screaming. You need a rest today. I get it. Yeah. Oh man, I love this conversation. I'm so glad we chose this topic. It was a good one.
Mm-hmm. I know in a way, like Meagan, you said, it is similar to what we were talking about last week. But I feel like it was an entirely different topic, an entirely different conversation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
when you got deeper into the question, then I was like, oh, okay. That's what you're meaning. Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, even on the same topic, we can have many different conversations. It can take so many different dives and points, right? Or paths, right?
Mhm.
I say points when I see like little pings on the map of point here, point there. We're gonna go here and there and everywhere. So yeah. Anyways, other than that, I feel like this would be a great time to start wrapping up and sharing what are your own biggest takeaways from this conversation today, and then everybody else who's listening and watching can do the same.
He wants to say hi. Say hi. I already did. Oh, you already did. Okay, we're wrapping up. We got these. I got this new subscription box, and it's like arts, crafts, science, math, history. And so this one was arcade. So we built a crane yesterday, and now he wants to do his prizes for the arcade game. So he's been. This one I'm talking about. This is the crane. Sorry.
Oh, my sister does
crane. And he took it out of the thing, but it like opens with the rubber band. But anyways, so we got to finish the box today. The crane was more than enough yesterday. But anyways, my biggest takeaway, I feel like was what you said, Meagan, about the nighttime. Because my morning routine is strong, but my nighttime routine isn't always the same. And so that one was my big takeaway, like, okay. And then also when you were mentioning, Yana, about the difference between like that, the meditation naps as well, that kind of like brought up some like, okay, well, that makes sense why on the days that I'm hard on myself, if I have a meditation nap, it's not as, I guess, empowering on the days where I'm like, that was a great nap, man. That really rejuvenated me. But there are some days where my mind goes to, man, I was trying to meditate and I napped. You know?
Well, because we get into a certain frequency, right? There's alpha waves, beta, and data waves. Alpha, beta, and something else. Well, anyways, there's certain. I'm not a master meditator. I don't know all the states that we enter, but the one that like the hotspot. There's a certain terminology that's used of what frequency and what brain wave it is at, and that's the one that I love being in, and at the same time I can get in there like this. I can feel any emotion and a feeling that I want like this. And that is the part that makes me feel like, well, why bother when it's so easy for me? You know what I mean? But it wasn't easy. It took me years of practice to get there, right? But again, the less you practice, the longer it takes to get into that hot spot, right? So that's why I'm like, well, what's the point? But anyways, you were still sharing, or were you done, Bethany?
Oh, I was done. Yeah, those are my two main takeaways. Like I've been working on like having a solid nighttime routine, but then like some days I don't, and then like I've been working on not being hard on myself when those times do happen. So it's been getting easier, but it's one of those things. It took me a while to get that AM routine down, and I know it's going to take some work and time to get that PM routine down, but it's part of the process, the part of growth.
Yeah. And the bedtime routine is definitely a great point. Yeah. What about you, Meagan?
I think it's so funny, Bethany, because I'm the complete opposite of you. So I have an amazing nighttime routine that I execute every night. It is my morning routine that I have difficulties with. Yeah, and maybe it's because I have such a great nighttime routine, so I like knock myself out, and like I'm so like good and tranquil. So when I try to get up in the morning, I'm like, I don't know about this one. So kind of like you said, Yana, like I have a hard time. Like again, like when I tell myself I'm gonna go to bed at this time, wake up at this time, and sometimes I just don't. But just how we talked about it, I have to get out of my head and listen to my body. And some days, especially like I've ran the last 2 days. So I woke up a little late today, and it's like, okay, my body I've been really working it deserves this rest, and I'm not going to be upset with myself that I need extra time. So I really appreciate that you're kind of like talking about that, like the differences in like our mind and our body, and really, getting out of our head and just being like, okay, like my mind controls about everything, but my body also needs to be taken care of as well. So I think we have to really, really, that is a key important thing I take away from here, is that we have to connect with our body and give our body what it needs.
Yeah. And sometimes what the body needs is to cry. Because this morning, when I was talking about having that conversation, walking outside with my sunglasses, what I forgot to mention is that I was crying, and I was glad I had sunglasses. And why I was crying, because I felt like I needed to cry, and because my body was telling me I need to cry. Why? Because of all the messages I was hearing, because I was feeling like a failure, doing things, trying to move. It almost feels like this. We've all seen the images of the big boulder, moving it up, right? That's what I am doing right now. I'm moving that big boulder to the very top so it can stay there. And it's not an easy feat. And I would imagine that pretty much every entrepreneur, especially in the beginning stages, whether it's a business owner, entrepreneur, or whatever label you give yourself, like when you're starting up your business, whatever business you're starting, it's tough. It's tough. It puts our body and our mind through a marathon that we didn't even know existed. And it's different for each and every one of us. And yet it comes back to the same things. Routine. How do you start your day? How do you end your day? How do you start your work day? How do you work day? How do you get ready for a call that you're about to have, especially if you know this is going to be a tough call, or this is a client that is a little bit challenging? How do you prepare for these? Because if you don't prepare and you walk in unarmed and everybody is pointing a gun at you and they just, sometimes it feels like that's why I use that imagery. But anyways, listening to our body. If our body tells us to cry, then cry. And I am like you, Meagan. I have an awesome bedtime routine. And I had an awesome morning routine, but it's like one of the, it just, I can't explain it. I have it for a while and it's great. And then it loses its power. It's not as fun anymore. So I don't want to do it. So I take a break until I feel the pain again. And then when I feel that pain, it's like, okay, because in order for us to change, we need to feel the pain sometimes. Right? So I feel that pain and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going to do it this time. 8 months this time is how long I lasted waking up at 5:30 in the morning every day. 8 months. Last time it was 2 months. So looking back, do I feel successful? Yes. 8 months is a really long time. And now I've taken a break for about 3 weeks, which is, this is when I'm now starting to feel the loss of that routine. And that's why I can say that having those bookends before, starting day and ending your day is very powerful, because in between I got so much stuff done and I felt great. Most of the days of the month, I had that perfect day. And then not having it for 3 weeks and not having the routines, it does affect the body and the mind. And the tears were part of that. It's part of a release because I needed to release. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing my own burn ceremony, because I was going to do it last week and I didn't do it. So that's my takeaways.
Nice. That's awesome. I love how we're different, because for you guys, you can take from my morning routines and I can take from your PM routines. And I just love that exchange that we have with each other for this instance. It's like opposites, but we're able to, connect.
Yeah.
Become one.
Yeah. And it is funny because like my nighttime routine is very similar to your morning routine. I just am better at doing it at night.
This is what I call a mastermind, because all of us, we have our own different minds. We have our own things that are working for us, our own different lives. And we come here and share it all. Probably push each other's buttons once in a while, or irritate or annoy one another once in a while, which is absolutely normal, because then it's like, oh, I didn't know I felt this way about this particular thing. Why is that? Right? It's because I had it and I lost it. Or it's because I want it, and for some odd reason, I feel like I can't have it. So, how true is that? Not at all. Which means you can have it. Then go after it.
No, yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree completely. Yes. Yeah. Grow, learn, and work through it.
Yeah.
That's my end notes for today.
So, anyways, beautiful ladies, thank you for yet another awesome Heal the Unicorn chat. Hopefully, I know I've healed my unicorn a little bit more.
Me too. Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Those that are listening or watching, hopefully something has helped you as well, right? And chances are something has. Otherwise, you still would not be watching up until this point.
And I also feel empowered. This conversation got me empowered to tonight to really put my foot down and be like, PM routine, we're doing this. Like healthy denial and on the other stuff, and bring on the good stuff.
Yeah. And another thing I learned is knee-jerk reaction. And when you have, like, let's say an opportunity comes into your life, and you automatically think, I want to do it, or I don't want to do it. That's a knee-jerk reaction. And then when you have that knee-jerk reaction, go for it. Or go for it later. Listen to a previous conversation we had and decide if you want to do this project now, or you want to do it later, or never, or whatnot. Anyways, thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. As always, I can pretty much guarantee you have someone that you know in your life that can benefit from this information. So think of that one person and send it to them. Share this video with them, so that way both of you can start your own journeys in the direction that you actually want to go in. So, and that is all. That's all for today. And until next time, bye everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Hi guys.
Bye, ladies.